Hello again, everyone. Dr. Dan Bachman here. It's been a little bit since we've caught up, I think, so I figured I'd drop you a little update on where we are in my situation with the colorectal cancer stage 4. So today is Sunday, November 14th. My birthday is in 4 days, and I will be 53. And Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I start round 11 of chemotherapy. Hard to believe it's been that many, but yeah, 2-week rounds starting round 11. And here's what's different. So a lot has happened since last time we talked. The last round of chemo I had, the side effects were dramatically bigger, especially in my fingertips in particular, and toes a little bit more. So typically I'll start noticing my fingertips are really sensitive to cold, and I get like an electric shock when I touch anything, like take anything out of the fridge, or and then I also have some throat stuff, so it feels like I'm going to choke if I drink cool liquids or eat cold food, but especially liquids. So I think the chemotherapy is like desensitizing or hypersensitizing nerves in those areas. Well, this time, and the fingertip stuff, it wasn't that bad. It was, I'd just warm them up and they'll be fine. But this time it got really intense to where I can't even type in my password on my computer unless my hands are really warm. And that's the other thing too, is that I've noticed that chemo, I'm cold all the time, or a lot of the time, colder than usual. And sometimes it'll just feel like I just can't warm up. So that's why I like getting out in the sunshine so much, because that feels fantastic. But man, fingertips just raging pins and needles. It feels like anything I pick up that's even slightly cold, it feels like I'm holding a cactus, and not the big sharp spikes, but the little fine ones, that you can get like 4,000 of them on your finger if you bump it. That's what it feels like. It feels like everything. It feels like you're touching prickly, sharp stuff. So that's not fun. And of course here we're towards, I have a bad week, where my symptoms are pretty intense and the pump comes off. The second week of my chemo cycle is typically, I call it my good week, because I start feeling pretty normal, pretty quick. And like this, today I feel amazing. Getting little workouts in here and there. But anyway, so the fingertip stuff was worse. Toes are a little more numb now than usual. So I'm going to bring that up with my oncologist who I meet with on Tuesday, and she may want to reformulate some things. I think the oxaliplatin is the name of the drug that is most known for this kind of stuff. So who knows, maybe she'll dial down on it a little bit. What we don't want is that I have some of these neuropathies that stay permanent, even after chemo's over, and hopefully I'm, cancer's long gone, I'm good and healthy. We don't want this stuff to linger. So we're kind of playing with a balance here. So I'm curious to see what she does there. Now also, I met with a fantastic nutritionist. He's not an MD, he's a PhD, and his name is Glen Luepnitz. And he came to me super highly recommended. He's in practice just outside of Austin here, and I met with him. Really knowledgeable guy. Very impressed with this guy. He's worked in oncology centers for, I think, 30 years. He's worked with the U.S. Olympic team for 20 years. So he understands both things I care about, which are killing cancer and becoming an elite athlete again. So couldn't have picked a more perfect guy to help me get there. So he recommended a few things. He said, on chemo day, he said no carbs for 24 hours before you start your chemo. Or I guess it'd be here. And the reason, he said, you can have protein and fat, but just no carbs. He said, what we're trying to do is really sensitize your body to carbohydrates. And then right before they put in not the prep meds, but the actual chemo med when I do my 5 hours in the chemo center, right before they put that in, eat a date or two or something with some sugar in it, some high glycemic index. And basically, it tells your cells to open wide open so that they're going to be really receptive. So the chemo juice gets to all the stuff we care about. By the way, tumor cells consume sugar at a rate that is something like 30 to 50 times higher than any other cell in your body, if I'm remembering that correctly. They're sugar fiends. So if we can hypersensitize the tumor cells to open wide up so that right when the chemo comes in, then it will hopefully go all right to those spots. So that was the idea. And and he gave me a couple other recommendations too. He said once we do surgery, the bowel resection to cut out the big thing, he said he and I will meet up again, and then we'll kind of tweak the nutrition stuff. And he has me taking melatonin. He said 20 milligrams before bed. Now I'll admit I tried that, and it's not for sleep. He said because melatonin is a cancer fighter. And he'll send you a ton of links with all the research that goes behind all of his recommendations. But I took 20 milligrams of melatonin, and man, the next day I was kind of useless. My brain was foggy. I was not thinking clearly. I was not alert. And I was like, I wonder if it's the melatonin that did that. So the next night I cut the dose in half. I did 10 milligrams. And I had the same feeling the next day, but not as bad. So I just kind of on my own stopped taking the melatonin. I'll get with him and see if, hey, is that in fact the reason I was feeling that way, or is it maybe that's just something else that I'm associating with it, and how important it might be. It's hard for me to work and have a clear mind when I'm feeling that way. So it's a balance, right? I want to kick this thing and give it everything I've got, but I don't want to be useless at work and useless to my patients, and I need to have a clear head so I can operate well. Okay, so nutritionist. Also, I had my third round of CT scans. CT with contrast for chest, abdomen, pelvis. This is the third round, so it's 3 CTs that they take, and this is the third time, and they're just checking all the spots they found before and measuring them and seeing if they get smaller. So just to refresh, when I got first diagnosed, we did those 3 scans, found all the tumors. Second round, after 2 months of chemo, everything had shrunk 30 to 50%. Well, the third round, I pulled up my own imaging report because I have access to it electronically through my clinic. And all the liver spots had shrunk on average about 20%. The lung spots hadn't changed, so they call them stable. Now, of course, I want all of them to shrink. And of course, then the big tumor, they said it was immeasurable. They couldn't measure it because they couldn't see the edges of it enough to like say here's where it starts and here's where it finishes. And there was something similar to that they found last time. So even though the chemo is aimed, by the way, at my liver and my lungs, it's not even formulated for a colorectal tumor. It's almost like we don't care about that one because we can just cut it out. But the ones that have spread, liver and lungs, they don't fare as well. So chemo is aimed at that. That's why we did that first. So, but the lung spots, the liver spots were, I think a couple of inches, maybe? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, an inch or so originally. The ones in my lungs are 2 or 3 millimeters. So, you know, something like this. In fact, my oncologist said, she calls them micrometastases. So metastases means tumors that have kind of seeded off and sprouted somewhere else. And micro being small. So, I mean, if you're gonna have a tumor, you want the small ones because I don't know, maybe they're easier to get rid of, or at least they're just not taking up a ton of space that your lungs need, for example. So I wanted to see some shrinkage in lungs, didn't see it, but stable, not getting bigger, so that's a big plus, right? I'll settle for that. And let's see what else. So we got nutritionist, follow-up scans, new round chemo, and yeah, since last time, I kind of realized, just was thinking about it, I realized that my feeling about this issue that I'm dealing with, from the beginning, I've been really optimistic. And you know, I've been honest with you guys about how I feel. I try to share that so that you all, friends, family, and extended friends and family, so you know like what the experience is like and have an understanding of what it's like. So I was optimistic, but now it just feels like I'm destined to get past this thing, meaning it's almost like it's a foregone conclusion. I just have to put in the time, you know. I'm doing a sentence of, okay, I got to go through all this uncomfortable, you know, this medication and these side effects and the uncertainty, but it feels much more certain. It feels, I mean, if I just think about my situation, I just assume I'm getting over it. And I don't know what to attribute that change, but it's good. So at the very least, it means I'm not walking around all day, you know, morose and depressed, and you know. So I mean, I feel like pretty normal, except when I'm on the chemo, and then I'm more tired and stuff. But yeah, so we'll see how that plays out, right? We'll see if my intuition is correct. But so far, my money's on me, and I haven't lost a bet on myself yet. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Anyway, big thanks again to all of you who have commented and offered advice. Told me your stories, your personal stories, and how you are going through something yourself, or you have gotten past it. That's so nice to hear when someone else is going through something you're going through and is on the other side of it by 5 years or 10 years. So it's just amazing to hear that from me, because I'm like, worked for him, worked for her, worked for her. Because then it gives you some hope. And for folks of you who have had family members or friends who have gone through this stuff, I mean, it's just overwhelming. I keep saying that each time I talk to you, but it's really overwhelming how wonderful it is to have you all behind me and following, and I love you and appreciate you for it. So I will have more news for you soon, and until then, hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you guys next time.